So we did engage with all of the REITs that we hold. Typically our fund, well, at the start it had like 90 names and now we have 140 names, but we engage with all of those REITs every year, and we engaged with them specifically to understand how they were responding to those physical risks in their portfolio.
I'm here today with Sarah Adams, Chief Sustainability Officer and co-founder of Vert Asset Management. How do you consider climate risk in your overall assessment of the value of REITs?
Well, we consider both climate risk from a physical risk and a transition risk in the REITs. If we're definitely seeking to avoid those REITs that aren't considering it at all or think of it as a hoax. We think that there's opportunity to prepare their physical asset and their way of operating for the transition risks, meaning the regulatory piece. When we first founded our fund in 2017, we didn't have a clear view on the portfolio risks for physical risk, and we worked with 427 at the time, which is now part of Moody's, and we worked with GeoPhy, and together they created a data set for us that helped us understand better the risks for heat stress, drought, water stress, everything, extreme storm, everything that wasn't kind of known. If you're along the coast, you're most likely to have coastal flooding. But with that data set, it helped us understand their exposure. Of course, some of that can seem intuitive, and so it was really understanding the REITs response. So we did engage with all of the REITs that we hold. Typically our fund, well, at the start it had like 90 names and now we have 140 names, but we engage with all of those REITs every year, and we engaged with them specifically to understand how they were responding to those physical risks in their portfolio, because that's the piece of their strategy. So in 2019, there were only 35 REITs that had a task force for climate-related financial disclosures, for instance, and that gets at that piece of what are they doing around the strategy. And now there's 137 names that we hold that have a TCFD-aligned portfolio or aligned strategy. And even though TCFD is going away, so to speak, the way of reporting what they are doing around climate risks to their financials is not going away.
And what sustainability information disclosed by REITs do you find most valuable in your investment decision making?
It's critical for us. We need to have a good idea of the data quality, and this has really been that intersection where we've been trying to work, is understand the material risks and then engage with the companies to get more reported data out. And that can be a self-reported situation, or it can be a mandated regulatory requirement. We've really focused on the TCFD, as I mentioned, but we've also focused on net zero goals, really as a conversation, an iterative conversation. And when we first asked about science-based targets, that wasn't necessarily the only way we wanted companies to report, to have a verified science-based target by the Science-Based Targets Initiative. They could have other versions of that at that time, but we've found through conversation with REITs that they really appreciate a third-party verifier, and this is where we've landed. So at that time in 2020, when we first engaged with the companies on science-based targets and net zero pathways, there were only 23 with a science-based target, and now there's 74 in our portfolio. So we've seen an increase.
And how do you think investors and REITs can communicate more effectively about environmental and social matters?
Well, their standalone sustainability report is very helpful. So many go a long way to kind of recreating the wheel and making their own. We feel that the homework's been done for them through the TCFD, through science-based targets, through all of these other frameworks, that we would appreciate more of the standalone reports to mirror some of these frameworks. And many REITs do follow this, and I know Nareit just had an award for this. And then all of the sustainability reporting that Nareit does has shown an increase overall in REITs reporting a standalone report. But kind of marrying the standalone report with the 10K and those regulatory requirements, I feel, and we understand and communicate to REITs that goes a long way towards them not having to report many different things, but just reporting the same thing across all of these different outlets. We've actually worked with the ULI on mapping ESG frameworks so that REITs can get to work on the strategy rather than on the reporting.